Their journey began in Yasharel, but they were scattered across the face of the earth, each one with its own beat, and each one with its own rhythm. As the dry bones are being revived, the beat begins again at the heart of the tribe.
Hello, hello. Welcome to Heart of the Tribe. My name is Chelle Wagner. So glad to have you come and join me. Well, I've got quite the presentation on my heart. I've been working on this for quite some time. I was about, years ago, this one line out of 2nd Baruch, chapter 48, hit me, and I have been wondering about it for years. And you know how something like that is, you pick up something in scripture or something that you see, and you're like, there's something deeper here. There's treasure, but I don't know quite what it is yet. So, I've picked that up. I've looked at it, put it back down, and try to just wait. And it kept coming up again lately. I was working with somebody on a project, something that we're doing, and it just kept coming up and coming up. And so it was the word Phantasmata, and it was out of 2nd Baruch 48. Then that at the end times, there would become the doings of Phantasmata. I was like, what in the world would be the doings of Phantasmata? And then I was watching something, and it made it come even more. I was in the middle of researching it, and then I was watching something that made it come up even more. So I'm going to try to share some of that to you. I'm going to get right to it. It's a long presentation. I hope I can do it in one shot. If not, I'll have to break it up into a couple, but let's see what I can accomplish today. All right. So what are we talking about? We're talking about scientific sorcery. I'm going to try to and get something. Well, I don't know how to get this out of my way. So it's just kind of like blocking my face. I got to come over here to try to, so you can see me without my name totally blocking my face, right? Okay, whatever. So scientific sorcery. So we are living in times like we have never lived in before, right? There are things going on and knowledge increasing and things taking place that it hits the screen, constantly. It's this constant barrage of new information, new technology, things coming on the scene. And there are several end time passages. There's Matthew 24:25. There's Luke 21, Mark 13. They all kind of basically give the same message. But a lot of that message is, such things are going to be happening that men's hearts will fail them, for the fear of what's happening. So when I look at this first picture, I don't want to put myself in this, right? I don't want to be subject to this. And this is where we're at. It is frightening where we're at. Okay, go on with this. So one thing that I was looking at, Celeste Salome, let me just go back here. Here she is. So Celeste Salome does something called the Celestial Report. If you've never watched her videos, she's got a YouTube channel. You can find all of her stuff right here at her website, celestialreport.com. This thing that I had been pondering on that had been bothering me, this doings of Phantasmata, and I was in the middle of doing my own research. She brought out a report, and I don't always get to catch all of her reports, but I mean, she's fascinating. And I haven't watched everything she's done because she's such a brilliant scientific mind and delves so deep that it takes me a while to process everything that she is sharing. So anyway, what she came on to share was something, a new program that's happening called generative optogenetics. And this is from DARPA. So I took this directly from DARPA, this screenshot of what they're doing and what this is. It says the generative optogenetics program seeks to harness the power of light to direct the synthesis of DNA and RNA directly within living cells. So when I was listening to Celeste go over her information about this and her video on this, what she was saying is that this project's been in the works for 20 to 50 years, right? They're calling it the GO program. They themselves say it is a high risk initiative, and it's things, what she's saying basically, it's directed, it enables a mass template free genetic information transfer using light as the medium. So the way that she put that in a way that I could stand it is she said they are literally using this program to use light as if it was a paintbrush to change our DNA and RNA. I'm like, oh, this is so. When she started sharing this, I was like, wow, this is what has been on my heart with me trying to figure out something that has really hit me that's going on with this doings of Phantasmata, right? So what is it? This is all still from the DARPA website. I just wanted you to be able to see it. What is generative optogenetics? Synthetic DNA and RNA molecules are foundational to a host of next generation technologies, crucial for national security. Why is our DNA crucial for national security? You got me, right? For national security and global well-being, impacting everything from a resilient supply chains. What would our DNA have to do with a resilient supply chain? And advanced materials manufacturing to sustainable agricultural and human health. However, current methods for creating these molecules de novo face significant limitations in terms of scale, complexity, and environmental impact. The Generative Optogenetics program, the GO program, seeks to overcome these challenges by pioneering a revolutionary approach, harnessing the power of light. Got it? Harnessing the power of light to direct the synthesis of DNA and RNA directly within the living cells. If successful, this high-risk, high-reward research program promises to revolutionize medicine, agriculture, and manufacturing by enabling a new era of bioprogramming. Okay? I mean, we're talking about affecting every area of our lives. Now, what Celeste shared, and the day that she released this video so that you can find it on her YouTube and listen to her very scientific explanation of what all this is, very informative. It was released and enacted. This program began on January 7th of 2026. So it's already in process. They say it is a 42-month program, which is what she mentioned, which is very interesting. Okay, so I showed you where you can find Celeste. So if you want to dig on any subject, the amount of articles that she has are incredible, just free resources. And her YouTube page has just a ton of videos. Okay, so I was looking at what are these experiments using optogenetics. So experiments using optogenetics, it's a technique that uses light to activate specific neurons, demonstrated that stimulating these pathways can induce hunting behavior even in inanimate objects like bottle caps or sticks. Now, Celeste on her video shows this in action with another video. So this is something that is affecting the amygdala, specifically targeting the amygdala. The research challenges the traditional view of the amygdala as solely the center for fear and emotion. So normally when we've looked at things on the amygdala, we've looked at the fight or fight type of response. Well, what they're revealing is that that actually the central role of the amygdala is a predatory instinct and survival behavior. Okay, so think about directed energy weapons that can affect an amygdala and produce aggression in people. And she was talking about in her video how she had noticed that people were much more aggressive lately. Robert's out and about it all the time, and he tells me absolutely things are much more aggressive. People are more aggressive. People have changed. So I was looking at something from simplypsychology.org. What does the amygdala do? The amygdala is essential for processing emotional reactions and attaching emotional significance to experiences, playing a central role in various aspects of behavior and cognition. The amygdala acts as a biological trigger for aggressive behavior. Research shows that stimulating this region increases hostile responses, while damaged lesions lead to a marked decrease in aggression, highlighting its role in social survival instincts. All right, so now we're going to get to where I was really digging into my research of the doings of Phantasmata. So where does this come from? The passage in which the word Phantasmata is used is found in 2 Baruch 48. The full passage is 31b through 41 that I'll be sharing on. This is the first portion of that. It says, "For that time shall arise which brings affliction." Well, I would say that we're in a time that is bringing affliction. "For it shall come and pass by with quick vehemence, and it shall be turbulent coming in the heat of indignation." Gosh, when you just think about the whole world scene right now, the whole world's in an uproar really about our president at the moment, because he has gone forth like a bulldozer through the world and is doing things that we would have never thought someone could do, war without congressional approval, all kinds of wonderful things, just changing things. And every day it's something different. And the latest thing, if you're looking at Epstein Island, well, there's nothing to see here. Let's just move on. We're done with that mess, right? It's awful. It's ridiculous. And something's going to come of this, I would think, because how can we ignore what has been released? I was listening to Hal Turner last night, and he said one of the things that's just happened is that Congress was given access by Pam Bondi to look at the unredacted files, but they had to go into a room with government computers, sign in, and they couldn't take any notes. They couldn't have any no cell phones, no cameras, no anything like that, but they could look it in. But that what happened was every keystroke that they made was recorded and put on a list, and she let that be known. and people they were screaming outrage, violation of privacy, all kinds of things, really upset things. And this just happened on Thursday. And then the next day, the department that was investigating all of this, their funding was shut down because the government, Congress did not pass funding for that department of the government. So, I mean, this is just like, it's like things that I would have thought of being in a movie. I mean, take me back 10 years ago, and I would have never thought this was possible. 20 years ago, absolutely. I would have denied the existence of aliens. I would have denied the existence of, I thought our government was actually for us somewhat. Shalom, Angela. Good to see you. So it's incredible what is happening right now in this time period that we're living. And so it says that it comes quickly, right? It says it's a quick vehemence, and it is. And it shall be turbulent in its coming, in the heat of indignation. Even the earth is in an uproar, when you're watching the different weather phenomenon that's going on. And I know, I've listened to Dane Wigington. I get it. There's weather manipulation happening as well, but it's still turbulent, whether it's being manipulated or whether Yah is certainly allowing the manipulation, because destruction does not come to a city without his approval, period. That's what his scriptures say. Right? So it says, and it shall come to pass in those days that the inhabitants of the earth shall be moved one against another, because they know not that my judgment has drawn nigh. Right? So his judgment is here at the door. For there shall not be found many wise at that time. There's not. I'm not seeing a whole lot of wisdom. It's so funny that our major scientists of the day talk about how we're on this evolutionary path to a higher plane of existence or whatever. Go to Walmart and you will see devolution of society in full force. This world system that they are building is not evolving humanity, it's killing it. It's devolving it. It's dumbing it down. And what it's doing is it's getting ready to make it not human anymore. So one of in the first book that I wrote, I started out with this in Tribal Roots. It's available on Amazon. I've got links and stuff. You can find it from my description below. But anyway, one of the things that I talked about was something that Timothy Alberino brought up in his book, Birthright, which is that this agenda from eons past to now has been to bring about a tipping point. I'm going to remove this for just a moment. Was to bring about a tipping point to where the inhabitants of Earth were no longer fully human. So if the inhabitants of Earth are not, it is a good book, isn't it, Angela? I love that book. I've read it a couple of times. I'm still studying it. It's well worth studying. He's a very, very interesting man that has a lot of very interesting things to share. So I really enjoyed his point in that what's happening and what has been on the agenda for a long time is the overtaking of humanity to where people are not fully human anymore. And this is where we're at. This is what's taking place. And it's taking place just like what it's saying in Baruch, with quick vehemence, because we were given the right of rulership over this planet as Adam's progeny, right? We were given that. We were given dominion. But if we willingly give it up by losing our humanity, then that's our choice. I mean, we have free will. And it looks like that's a lot of what's going on. So back to what this says in Baruch. It says, it shall come to pass in those days that the inhabitants of the earth shall be moved one against another, because they know not that my judgment is drawn nigh. For there shall not be found many wise at that time, and the intelligent shall be but few. Moreover, even those who know shall most of all be silent. Well, why is that? Because we live in cancel culture and things are getting more and more dangerous. I mean, laws are being passed. There's a lot of people you're not, it's becoming illegal or putting your life and family in danger to speak about, I mean, not that it hadn't been that way for a long time, but boy, has it ramped up, right? So most of all, those who know shall be silent. And there shall be many rumors and tidings, not a few, and the doings of Phantasmata shall be manifest, and promises not a few be recounted. So it was this phrase, the doings of Phantasmata. I'm like, what in the world is that? And it's been bothering me for years. And finally, I feel like Yah has opened up some understanding on it. So one of the things too, I'm going to go back on this for a minute. I know you guys have noticed, see the purple on the screen and the light. I mean, I live in a very small place in the world, a very small community, but these lights went up in 2020. when everybody was kind of in lockdown, there was a lot of things that went up. That's when all those big 5G towers went up, and that's when these lights went up, and they have this eerie purple glow. Anytime you're even watching some of the TV programs now, you'll see this purpley weird color. Anytime that it's in an evil, I don't know, like it's promoting evil and witchcraft, right? So I started looking. So I'm going to share some of my research with you. Started looking, what in the world is phantasmata? Well, from the dictionary, phantasma is what you can find. It is a Greek, it's from the Greek word phantasm. It is an apparition or specter, a creation of the imagination or fantasy, a mental image or representation of a real object, an illusory likeness of something. The thesaurus says phantasma can be an apparition, a phantasm, a phantom, a specter, a disembodied spirit, any incorporeal supernatural being that can become visible or audible to human beings. So it's digging further. It says something existing in perception only, like a ghostly apparition at midnight, right? Because ghosts aren't real, right? Because spirits aren't real. So it would have to be just something in your imagination, because all those, children's stories we heard about giants and about ghosts, none of that's really real, right? Or is it all real? But presented in a way of fantasy so that we wouldn't catch on to what in the world's actually going on in this world and what the enemy is up to. So it's a phantasm, a shadow, an apparition, a ghost, a specter. It can be a flying saucer, a UFO, right? And now they call them UAPs, a flying object whose nature is unknown, especially those considered to have extraterrestrial origins. When used as a noun, a supernatural being such as a ghost, an apparition, a boogeyman, a bogey, a boogle, an etalon. I'm not quite sure what that one is. Ghost, phantasm, phantom, revenant, shade, specter, spirit, visitant, wraith, spook, haunt, daydream, dream, fantasy, fiction, figment, illusion, phantasm, reverie, vision, delusion, hallucination, ignis fatuus, a mirage, a will-o'-the-wisp. And then the last thing that was mentioned was the Flying Dutchman. And I went, well, what in the world is the Flying Dutchman? Because I couldn't remember what the Flying Dutchman was. So the Flying Dutchman, the captain of a phantom ship who was condemned to sail against the wind until Judgment Day. This ship was said to appear in storms near the Cape of Good Hope. So the Flying Dutchman is a legendary ghost ship said to be doomed to sail the seas forever without ever being able to make port. The myth likely originated during the 17th century golden age of the Dutch East India Company and maritime power, with the oldest known version dating to the late 18th century. According to the most common version of the legend, the ship's captain, Hendrik van der Decken, was a Dutch sea captain who, during a fierce storm near the Cape of Good Hope, swore he would round the Cape even if it took until Judgment Day. The devil heard his oath and condemned him and his crew to sail the oceans eternally as punishment. The ship is described as appearing during violent storms, often glowing with a ghostly light, and is considered a portent of doom. Sailors who sight the vessel are believed to be cursed, with some accounts claiming that the sighting brings misfortune or even death. The Flying Dutchman is said to be able to sail even in calm seas with sails full despite no wind, and its crew may attempt to send messages to land or to people long dead. So I did notice that in this movie, they use the Flying Dutchman. This is what's used in Pirates of the Caribbean, right? And so they've got several characters that are the main characters of this, right? One is Elizabeth Swann. Okay, they're all named after birds, which is really weird. Jack Sparrow, what is his name? Hunt, I think Will Hunt, and so it's his bird was it was a weird bird. You wouldn't notice it, but it does connect back to a bird, his name. So anyway, Elizabeth picks up this gold Aztec medallion the day that Will is fished up out of the sea. right? Because he'd been floating on a raft. And so she's on a British ship, and so he's picked up. So she picks it up and hides it and keeps it until they're adults. And no one else on the ship saw this gold Aztec medallion. When she falls into the sea years later, she's wearing a corset that's too tight, and she's on the edge of I don't know, a rampart, something, and she falls into the sea. Well, the minute she does, and that medallion hits, then you see this like explosion in the water, and suddenly clouds are coming in and a storm's rushing in, and these pirates are stirred up, and they are on their way to that location. So it like creates this shock wave, right? That calls to pirates that are living an undead existence. In the daytime, they look like they have flesh, and at the night, they look like the skeletons, the undead that they are. They're neither really dead nor alive. They're caught in this weird limbo, right? Like a zombie. So anyway, the pirates need this medallion in order to reverse this curse of being undead. And at another part in the movie, the undead captain, is speaking to Elizabeth Sparrow, and he says, "The moonlight reveals who we really are." Right? It's really, really strange. I think that there's so much symbolism sometimes in these. I know there is, like things are put out as if they're fantasy, as if it's just as entertainment, when it's not. It's a revealing of what's really happening in the supernatural realm. Elizabeth says, "I don't believe in ghost stories." And then Barbosa later says to her, "You best start believing in ghost stories, Miss Turner. You're in one." Absolutely. And doesn't it feel like sometimes that's where we are, we're in one to a certain degree, and I'm not saying Yah has his plan. Okay. So I'm just going to share with you like my perspective on this as a believer in the Most High, and believing in my Redeemer, Yahushua HaMashiach, that his blood was shed for me, that he came, he died so that I could be freed from the curse of sin. Okay. I believe that with all my heart. And I believe that he came in the flesh, that he was fully God and fully man, and that he is now seated, that he won the victory over death, hell, and the grave. He defeated the principles and principalities and the evil of this world, and that all who follow him can expect and claim him as their Lord and Savior and accept his blood atonement for their sin, are going to live and reign with him in victory from now until forever. This is what I believe. So there's a plan for us, and we are not at the mercy of these things. He wants us to be wise, but I do believe that the whole thing is to get the people of Yah, the people that of faith, to either be so afraid that they're inactive, deny the power of our living Elohim, get discouraged because of the hardness of the times, right? Get fooled, deceived by these things that are coming and being manufactured, so that they accept another Jesus, right? That is not. Right. So it's we're living in times full of deception. So the reason that I do these things is to share whatever insights that Yah shares with me. It may be things he's already shared with you, or you may have more pieces to the picture. Feel free to put anything you want in the comments, because we've got iron's going to sharpen iron, and we're going to learn from each other. So anyway, I believe that he has a plan to flow through his people. If he's asked us to live through a time like never before, he's got to have a people that have the ability to allow him to flow through them like never before. right? This is going to be incredible, and it is increasing moment by moment. The times and the intensity is increasing. And I believe that our biggest weapon of warfare is our personal relationship with ears to hear the voice of our shepherd, with the ability to display the fruit of the Spirit. That this is how we'll know who each other are. I think it's the only way to know who each other are. When you look at like what's happening, judgment begins at the house of Yah, and it has begun because people are falling left and right, from their ministry platforms, and it's happening. And so the only way we're going to know is by the fruit. Do they have the fruit of the Spirit? Are they flowing in that? I think that's the only way we're going to know. Are they more concerned with the gold and silver they've hoarded and their beans, bullets, and band-aids? Or are they looking for opportunities to be the hands and feet of Yahusha, but with great discernment, listening for his voice? Don't go there, but go here. Don't take that road. Take this one instead. Don't go out today. Don't go anywhere today. Don't drive today. All right, I need you to go here today. Living that type of lifestyle to where we are truly plugged in to our only source of knowledge and power to be overcomers in this world. All right, let me get back to my presentation. So one of the other things that it mentioned was the will of the wisp. So the will of the wisp, in Latin, the foolish flame, it's an atmospheric, like ghostly light, right? It keeps coming back to this atmospheric, ghostly light seen by travelers at night, especially over bogs, swamps, or marshes. The phenomenon is known in the United Kingdom by a variety of names, including the jack-o'-lantern, the friar's lantern, the hickey punk, and is said to mislead or guide travelers by resembling a flickering lamp or lantern. Okay, if this is the same, look at the hues that are used. We're dealing with this bluish, purplish light, a cold light. Okay, I want you to start seeing this in this. So let me see if, wait a minute. I wanted to show you guys this one thing. Let me kind of take it out of reading view. This presentation is going to be way too long if I do all this, but on this site, it's an article I found, and I'll try to copy this and put this in the description so it'll be easier to use when I get done. At this site that CNN has, it is all this picture after picture after picture of what's been captured lately in our world of this weird phenomenon that is not normal, right? These ghostly lights, the aurora borealis, the strange lights showing up in the skies. It's been happening and happening. And they've taken there's just this huge gallery of pictures of late that show all these energized particles, right? This aurora borealis type atmosphere in places where it has never been seen before. So there's just all kinds of strange sky phenomenon. At the same time, we have all these weird things. A few years ago, I think it was 2023. Oh, it's a Chinese weather balloon. Really? Really? Is that what it is? Is it? There are things being displayed in the clouds. There are people capturing things. They just had a major, we've got a Trump-initiated Space Force. We have a major film that was just released where, what was it called? Something, the name, I know the name Disclosure is in it. It's on Prime Video. It's a documentary where, all kinds of people from NASA or people from pilots and people in the military and different things go ahead and share their stories. So finally, that's being allowed to be shared, right? I mean, these things are just being like bomb dived, right? On the public, one thing after another. It's we're going to war, we're not going to war, we're going to war, we're not going to war. Oh, look, there's UFOs are real, aliens are real. Oh, maybe not. Oh, the Epstein files. Oh, there's nothing to see here. Oh, they're eating babies. Oh, there's nothing to see here. Now the economy's crashing. Gold's up to heights we've never seen before. Silver's up to heights we've never seen before. Watch out for the stock market. The bond market's ready to crash. Everything in the stock market depends on the bond market. I mean, it is whoosh, 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 whoosh. And if you've got to go into this medical facility that's this scientific sorcery place that is pretending to be for your health and for your good, Lord Almighty, take a friend with you, be prayed up, and be on the watch for what all they've got to share with the population. I mean, it is, when it said the times would increase, Yah was not kidding. It's an incredible pace that we're at. So back to this word phantasma, right? So I did find it in the scriptures. It's used, the Greek word phantasma is used in the Bible in Matthew 14:26 and Mark 6:49, when the disciples believe that they are seeing a ghost when Yahushua's walking on the water. So it's transcribed as the word spirit, right? Which is from the Greek word phantazo, meaning something that's being made apparent, right? Something that was maybe behind a veil, that we see through a glass darkly, that we aren't privileged to see all that. I mean, we know that the supernatural is all around us all the time. It's constant. We are not alone, but the veil has not been removed from our eyes most of the time. Once in a while, Yah in his good pleasure will decide to, part back the veil and reveal some things or allow us to see what we're dealing with. But most of the time, we just are dealing in real life, and what we get, we have to get through having his spirit of discernment operating within us. We have to pray for that wisdom, and we have to listen for his voice. Otherwise, we just get caught up. So a derivative, that Robert would say, I really geeked out on this slide, so I'll go through it really, really fast and move on. But I wanted to at least leave it here for those of you who love to dig. I put all my Strong's numbers and everything so that you can follow the threads for yourself, right? So it's phano is a derivative, to lighten or shine. It's to show transitively, intransitively, literally or figuratively. Okay, I'm not going to go through all of it. Basically, what I got to, it is fire and light. All right. So when I followed my research, one of the things that I saw, when something is fire and light, one of the things that we're dealing with this fire and light, we're dealing about bright light, warm light, or dark light, warm light or cold light, right? This is where it's something that appears to be light, but it's not the light that Yahushua gives. All right. It's a deceptive light. So one of the things that I noticed was, you got that right, Angela. It is she says the Marine Kingdom is no joke. And that is certainly true. Right? Right there. No joke at all. So one of the things that I noticed was the temperature at which this cure, the cure that harms, is how cold it had to be kept. So I just thought that was very interesting. It's the coldness. Going back to Baruch here for a minute to read some more in context about the times that we're living in. Some of them shall prove idle. We got some couch potatoes going on, right? Just flip to the next channel. So what? Things go on like they've always been. We've always lived in a day when they say that the Lord's going to return. Everything same old, nothing really to see here. Just keep me entertained. Who's playing in the Super Bowl? What sport season's coming up next? Oh, isn't it basketball time now? Just flipping the channels, waiting to see what's going to happen, right? And some of them shall be confirmed, right? You just look at her. I am an American citizen, and this is how, this is where like all the Nancys were produced. If you see something, you need to say something. People that are just, they are just sold out that, my president is my president. My country is my country. My faith is caught up with my politics, and it's one and the same, right? Some of them shall be confirmed, and honor shall be turned into shame, and strength humiliated. I've been sickened for years after what's been done to white males in this country. It's been in the TV shows. It's not that there's not persecution everywhere, but the white male has been targeted, and being a strong man has been put down as if it's something to be shameful of, right? I am thrilled to be married to a man's man. I mean, there's nothing feminine about my husband. Not a single thing in the world. I mean, he is a blue collar, work hard man. That's just who he is, and I'm proud of who he is. And so I don't think that he should be shamed or humiliated for being a strong man, right? It makes me feel safe as his wife. I love that. So, and it says, and turned into shame, and strength humiliated into contempt. Haven't we seen that? And probity destroyed, and beauty shall become ugliness. So I had to put in the latest 2026 fashions from Paris. I don't think that any of that is beautiful. Not one single bit. It's ugly. It's become ugliness. Right? So now back to more of this passage from Baruch. It says, and many shall say to many at that time, where has the multitude of wisdom removed itself? And while they are meditating on these things, then envy shall arise in those who had not thought aught of themselves, and passion shall seize him that is peaceful. Right? So one of the things that's brought out with this light in the amygdala is the ability to affect someone's behavior and to turn on aggression by a light beam, right? It doesn't even have to be visible light beam. It's a wave pattern, right? That's being projected. And this is happening all over the planet right now. Not to come, not some pie in the sky. And we have been warned about it over and over. And they talked about it at the end of this movie, The Kingsman, which it was a horrible movie. I was sorry I even put my eyes on it, but I'm glad I saw the end because I could see what was happening. It's not something I recommend. It's a sickening movie, right? But at the very end of it, you see this in action where this is turned on by this guy in the purple hat, and this guy who's like the lead guy, in the movie. He goes nuts and kills everybody in a church after they had gone nuts with aggression to try to attack him and try to attack each other. And so they have this conversation afterwards, and he says, you did this. And he said, yeah, I did. I turned on whatever it was he turned on that was, a weapon, and an energized weapon. And he affected everybody's emotions and made them all go crazy, right? So passion shall seize him that is peaceful. And it was interesting because the scene takes place in a church, right? And many shall be stirred up in anger to injure many, and they shall rouse up armies in order to shed blood, and in the end they shall perish together with them. And it shall come to pass at that self same time that a change of times shall manifestly appear to every man, because in all those times they polluted themselves and they practiced oppression and walked every man in his own works and remembered not the Torah of Elohim, right? There's very few who are giving any credence whatsoever to the Torah of Elohim. Therefore, a fire shall consume their thoughts, and in flame shall the meditations of their mind be tried. For the judge shall come and will not tarry, right? And this is what I was just reading, Mark 13 this morning, and that's at the end of it. That's what it says. He's coming, all right? He is coming. For the judge shall come and will not tarry, because each of the inhabitants of the earth knew when he was transgressing. Everyone knows when they're in sin. We know when we're doing wrong. You can watch a 2-year-old know when they're doing wrong. All right? We are born with a sinful nature. But my Torah they knew not by reason of their pride. Why don't people want to understand Torah? Because of pride. But many shall then assuredly weep, yea, over the living more than over the dead. Doesn't, that one sentence right there hits me so hard, because that's where I find myself, and my grief is more over those that are living, and you can tell when the lights have gone out. Now, I'm no judge of that. Only Yah can see the full heart and know for sure. But there are signs and there are signals when they've walked in the wrong way and walked in the wrong way. And the word of Yah explains it, that the process that happens is that hearts become hardened, right? Repeated living in sin patterns and a refusal to accept the invitation of the still small voice of the Holy Spirit calling out for repentance and relationship. When it is refused over and over again, and sin is chosen, that there is a hardness of the heart. It's like a cauterization process. If you've ever had an area of your body burned or lost a limb and it had to be cauterized, the feeling leaves those nerve endings. And that's what happens to the heart that grows cold. It becomes cauterized, and it becomes incapable of feeling the presence and the leading of Yah, of the Ruach HaKodesh, right? It's very, very sad. Okay, let me move on here to the next one. All right, put this back. So in my research, one of the things that I've noticed is I was reading this book about light, okay? This is not a believer, but he was just he wrote a book, his name's Ben Bova, wrote a book about the beauty of light. Absolutely, Angela. Yah is our king. She says, Yah is our king, not a government or a sports team. Anything that you put before Yah is an idol. It's so true. And that includes people. He won't allow us even to, put the people that we love the most above our affection for him and above our commitment to him. Absolutely. So the fireflies flash nearly all, this is the title of this section in his book, nearly all bioluminescent light is cold light in two senses. First, the light is yellow, green to blue, cool colors as opposed to the warmer hues of the rainbow. Second, bioluminescent light is created practically with no heat production at all by the oxidation of a pigment called luciferin and the catalytic action of an enzyme called luciferase. Lucifer, the name of the brightest angel of them all, means shining. Okay, So we can see here what I was showing on a few slides back, the coldness. They got to keep some things cold. It's not warm. It's got to be kept very cold. There's something about that. All right. So now I really wanted to dig in to the word phantasma from the Greek and see if I could find something in the Hebrew that was equivalent. So I did. It is H2384. Kizayon. Kazayon. My Hebrew pronunciations are not very good, but I've got it spelled out in the pictograph. It is a het, a zadi, a yod, a vav, and a nun. Now, the Brown Driver Briggs says that this is vision in the ecstatic state, vision as a divine prophecy, vision in the night. Okay, it is from a primitive root word that means to see what is not normally visible, which is hazah, right? There's a het, a zadi, and a hey, right? Whew. Genesis 15:1 is where we can find this used. And it says, after these things, the word of Yahweh came unto Avram in a vision, saying, fear not, Avram, I am your shield and your exceedingly great reward. It is also used in Exodus in 18:21 through 23. And the way that it was used in that passage was as instructions to Moses concerning the men that he should appoint to leadership positions within the structured body of Yasharel for governmental purposes. It is translated as the word able men, right? So from the Hebrew, we see that to be qualified as for a leadership position within Yah's governmental structure, you have to be able to have a sight, vision that goes beyond natural ability. You've got to have discernment, okay, in order to be qualified according to Yah. All right, so this was also used in the passage in Job 19:26 through 27. It says, and though after my skin worms destroy this body, right? Flesh decays, dust goes back to dust, right? Yet in my flesh I shall see Eloah, whom I shall see for myself, and my eyes shall behold, and not another, though my mind be consumed within me. So this is describing divine discernment. Now, this is just all my research and my opinion and what I'm seeing out of this. You may see even more in all of this. That's the fascinating thing about scripture. It's not, what he just reveals to one person. I'm just one person in his kingdom, right? There are so many people that are so much smarter than me, and they get so much more than me. And there can be lots of insight. And that's why iron sharpens iron. So I'm just sharing with you what I see. So when I say, that what this is describing, everything that I say like that, it's all my opinion. Right? So this is describing divine discernment and perception that is not natural to man. Due to technology, we know that the sulfuric bridge within the DNA of humanity is separated by 10565 over and over, right? Over and over, 10565, 10565, 10565, right? Which is the numeric equivalent of Yod He Vav He, Yahuwah, written right in our DNA code, right? The Psalms help us to understand that this vision is a quality that Yahweh possesses. He sees the unseen. Nothing is ever hidden from his sight. And he reveals whatever pleases him to reveal, right? It's the, what does it say? It is the glory of Yahweh to conceal a matter. And it is the honor of kings to search it out. I hope I've got that right, but that's what that we're to do, is to search things out, and he shares what he desires to share. So vision is a quality that Yahweh possesses. He sees the unseen. Nothing is ever hidden from his sight, right? I remember being a very young, new in my faith, and it dawned on me that everything that Yah was with me everywhere that I went. He knew every thought, he saw every action, he heard every word. I mean, it was like, whoosh, Yah is right there in my face at all times. There's nowhere to hide, to have any secret, right? There's nothing hidden from his sight, right? That used to kind of freak me out because it was like, whew, you better fly right. You better learn how to straighten up your behavior and learn how to fly right. And I remember when that like dawned on me as a new believer. And now I think that is one of my greatest comforts in life, is that he's always right there. He is never away from me. Psalm 139 promises me there's not a place that I will ever go where Yah is not there. He's there, right? Psalms 11:7 says, for the righteous Yahweh loves righteousness. His countenance beholds the upright. 2 Chronicles 16:9a, for the eyes of Yahweh run to and fro throughout the whole earth to show himself strong in the behalf of those whose heart is perfect towards him. I like this one out of Zechariah 4:7-10. Who are you, O great mountain, before Zerubbabel? You shall become a plain, and he shall bring forth the headstone thereof with shoutings, crying, grace, grace unto it. Moreover, the word of Yahweh came unto me, saying, the hands of Zerubbabel have laid the foundation of this house. His hand shall also finish it, and you shall know that Yahweh Zavaot has sent me unto you. For who has despised the day of small things? For they shall rejoice and shall see the plummet in the hand of Zerubbabel with those 7. They are the eyes of Yahweh, which run to and fro through the whole earth. So light is energy called biophotons. Okay. So I think that is very interesting. John 1 is explaining this to us. John 1 through 1, John 1:1-9. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was Aleph Tav, Elohim, and Elohim was the Word. The same was in the beginning with Aleph Tav, Elohim. All things were made by him, and without him was not anything made that was made. In him was life, and the life was the light of men. And the light shines in the darkness, and the darkness comprehended it not. Interesting, huh? The darkness, the Hosek, comprehended it not. There was a man sent from Elohim whose name was Yochanan, John, right? John the Baptist. The same came for a witness, to bear witness of the light, that all men through him might believe. He was not that light, but was sent to bear witness of that light. That was the true light, which lights every man that comes into the world, right? Light. So you'll hear people, let me remove this for a minute. You'll hear people talk about, and as Christians, it's so funny because everybody goes, oh, that's woo-woo stuff, right? Well, they just have a certain aura. They just have a certain glow. And you'll hear this like in a lot of the hoodoo, voodoo, whatever type of circles, because they're all over the place. And they're promoting this false light. I'm very deceived by it. However, it's wild because we can see so much evil in that those who are believers tend to go, and stay away from everything of it. But they'll talk something about an aura, right? Well, that is a real thing. And because, and especially you'll see its frequency is what it is. It's a light frequency. is what it is that we carry. We're to be glory houses, right? We are cracked pots, vessels of clay, and the light leaks out right? Out of our humanity, because there is every good and precious gift comes down from the Father of light. The Holy Spirit is the gift from its Abba's promise to us, the Father of light. In fact, I've made an essential oil. I'm not sure if I've even added this one to the website yet or not, but I made an essential oil called Abba's promise that is all about it was formulated as I really meditated on those 7 ruachs out of Isaiah 11:2, and out of the fruit of the Spirit, what he gives us, the empowerment that he gives us to be able to flow in his Spirit as we walk around in this world, right? So in the beginning, I absolutely believe that Adam and Eve walked in magnificent, shining, bright glory, right? I believe that was the garment that they had on. And the sin caused that garment to dim, maybe. I don't think that it went out completely, but it was certainly covered over by garments of flesh, right? So it's not that it's not there, but I do think within the free will process that right now, so we can choose to say, Father, shine through me. I want your light, no other. And other people are embracing in mass droves a false light. Ooh, the hoodoo voodoo, right? So, all right, I'm going to go back to my presentation. All right. So the creator designed all of his creations to embody varying degrees of light. When I looked at biophoton, bio means life, and photons are packages of energy. So biophotons are packages of energy that carry the information of life in people, plants, and animals. This is just scientific information, right? Yah made the herbs, the leaves, the trees, etc., with the process of photosynthesis. So now this, I was reading over Celeste Salome, who I shared about earlier, wrote, wow, it's called Amazing Beings of Light. It is a free 90-page document of her research about this subject. And so this was just one quote that she kind of had that I was like, wow, this really explains it well. There's so much in that. I could never share all of it. I would love to, but I never could. So Yah made the herbs, leaves, trees, etc., with the process of photosynthesis, which acts like a holding facility until we consume these light greens, which then impart their light to each of our cells. There are an estimated 100 trillion cells in a human body. I can't picture that. No one can picture that number, right? But that's how many cells we have. And so this is the importance of eating clean, eating good, avoiding genetically modified organisms, right? This Go program to change everything with using light like a light brush, like a brush. Pray over your food. We got to pray. We got to have discernment on everything, and what you can grow yourself. Get yourself some good seeds. Microgreens are a good way to go. There's a lot of things we can do. There's a lot of things that I've been incorporating for years in my life, just because of Yah's faithfulness and saying you need to be thinking about these things. I've been thinking about these things for a long time, and what it's done is it made me a laughing stock to a lot of people, in my life. And especially because it's happened for so long. I mean, Yah spoke to me from the very beginning that there was a time coming on the earth like no other. This was like over 30 years ago when I first, came into belief in him and a desire to walk with him. And then when Y2K happened, I was stalked to the hilt. and I felt so foolish afterwards, and I prayed about it afterwards. And y'all just reminded me it takes a time of resistance to build muscle. There's things that you can't learn all when it's time to learn. You've got to learn them incrementally. And so there were things that I learned that were valuable lessons at that time. And so, that's what happens. But it's not too late, right? To continue to learn. I'm continuing to learn all about things that I can do, for my health. And I'm going to share some things in a minute here with that too. I kind of go all over the place in my presentations, don't I? So this is another one that really got to me about the light, right? It's in Luke 11:34-36. It says, the light of the body is the eye. Therefore, when your eye is single, your whole body also is full of light. But when your eye is evil, your body also is full of darkness. Take heed, therefore, that the light which is in you be not darkness. So there it is. How can light be darkness? The light that is in you be a dark light. Yahushua is telling us right here. If your whole body therefore be full of light, having no part dark, the whole shall be full of light, as when the bright shining of a candle gives you light, right? That warm glow. So what I'm looking at is this underlined part that I've got, okay? So also is full of light. So the first time this is used, that light, right, is photoenos, right? Only used a few times in scripture to denote a bright character. It's what is within you. It's your love of the creator. We love him because he first loved us. Okay. And then that darkness, this gotinos, it's used in the same verses, right? As the photinos. And it means that your light has been covered over by darkness. So Matthew 6:23 says, but if your eye be evil, your whole body shall be full of darkness. If therefore the light that is in you be darkness, how great is that darkness? So there is something that appears to be light, but it's not light. It's darkness. It's deception, right? Yeah, let Yah's light shine through us. So in Job 10:18-22, it says, wherefore, I found so much in Job about this. Job can be really hard to understand, but there are just unbelievable hidden treasures in Job. When you dig into the Hebrew in Job, it's incredible. So this portion says, wherefore then have you brought me forth out of the womb? Job was at this point crying out. He was so discouraged by the suffering that he was enduring that he was like, why did you even, if this was what you planned for my life, why bother to even have me born? I mean, this was the level of this righteous man's suffering in his soul from what he was enduring. And it was at Yah's good pleasure. Yah loved Job. He loved Job. He knew that he could trust Job to withstand everything that the enemy that Satan was going to throw at him, right? And amazing. So it says, wherefore then you have brought me forth out of the womb. Oh, that I had given up my ruach and no eye had ever seen me. He was wishing he'd never been born. I should have been as though I had not been. I should have been carried from the womb to the grave. Are not my days few? Cease then and let me alone, that I may take comfort a little. Before I go whence, I shall not return, even to the land of darkness and the shadow of death. A land of darkness as darkness itself, and of the shadow of death, without any order, and where the light is as darkness. Right? Very, very interesting here. Job 10:22, a land of darkness. Okay, as darkness itself. So I was looking this up in the Hebrew to see what I could find. Without any order, where the light is as darkness. So this darkness is a fa. It is a darkness, the 5890, right? A land of darkness. It is a darkness that hovers or flies, causing gloom. And it's only used in two scriptures. This one in Job and this other one in Amos 4:13, right? So he's telling us that this darkness is something in the atmosphere. It's flying. It's describing what we saw, like that will-o'-the-wisp, right? It's in the atmosphere. It's a darkness that creeps up on you. Okay. It's not Hosek, which is most of the time what darkness is called. I'm sorry. Hosek is wisdom. I'm getting that wrong. No, Hosek is darkness. Hokmah is wisdom. Getting my Hebrew confused. So Hosek is normally how darkness is described, but this is different. Okay. This is, and so he was describing a land of darkness, right? As darkness itself. And so this was another one, this Ophel, it's a gloom. There's a spiritual unreceptivity, right? It is not easily discerned. That's what it's saying. It's a flying darkness in the atmosphere that is not easily discerned, which is why deception will be rampant, right? And most of it, what we're talking about, this cold light, it's used in all of the devices. It's used in our computers. It's used in our TVs. It's used in our smartphones. It's used in medical devices. It's used in the street lamps. It is being used it is on the Go program that we were talking about earlier in this presentation. It's on the move, right? It's a Yafa H3313. So let's look at what that one is. So that's the light, and where light is as darkness. So this particular light is Yafa, this light that is shining forth to cause to shine forth and sending out beams. Because normally when we look at the word light, we're looking at or, right? But this is different. This is a different Hebrew word here. All right. It is a light that is sending out beams. Okay. It's describing how this light operates. It's wave patterns. It's directed energy weapons is what it is. Darkness itself. So I was looking here. Oh, I guess I just did this thing twice. I remember I wanted the street light back in it is what happened. So I'll have to remove this one. It's the same thing. So I did find a couple of other just interesting verses to share for those who've been willing to stick with me for this entire over an hour presentation now. Thank you for sticking with me. I know it's long. But in Enoch 41:6a, it says, the course of the moon's path to the righteous is light, but to sinners it's darkness. Isn't that an interesting verse, right? The sins of the watchers, what they taught mankind in Enoch 8:8, and Azrael taught the motion of the moon. Okay, this was at the time forbidden celestial knowledge, and it was intended to mislead mankind to look for signs rather than to look for a relationship with their creator. That's what all that was about. And here we see that in Matthew 12:38-42. It says, then certain of the scribes of the Parashim answered, saying, Rabbi, we would see a sign from you. right? This was the culture. Show us a sign. There's always been, from those who are not truly embracing the creator, there's always been this hunger and thirst for what the knowledge that the watchers had, that knowledge that was dangled before Eve like a carrot, right? That's what it is. That's what draws people to the dark side, to dark light. Okay. It says, then certain of the scribes and the Pharisees answered, saying, Rabbi, we would see a sign from you. But he answered and said unto them, an evil and adulterous nation seeks after a sign, and there shall be no sign given to it but the sign of the prophet Jonah. For as Jonah was 3 days and 3 nights in the fish's belly, so shall the Son of Adam be 3 days and 3 nights in the heart of the earth. The men of Nineveh shall rise in judgment with this nation and shall condemn it, because they repented at the preaching of Jonah. And behold, a greater than Jonah is here. The queen of the south shall rise up in the judgment with this nation and shall condemn it, for she came from the uttermost parts of the earth to hear the wisdom of Solomon. And behold, a greater than Solomon is here. This is Solomon, King Solomon, right? And then here in Matthew 24, 8 through 12, all these are the beginning of sorrows. Then shall they deliver you up to be afflicted, and shall kill you, and ye shall be hated of all nations for my name's sake. And then shall many be offended, and shall betray one another, and shall hate one another. And many false prophets shall arise, and shall deceive many. And because the transgression of the Torah shall abound, the love of many shall wax cold. Right? Oh, the Old Testament was totally done away with. Everything was done away with. It was all nailed to the cross. What a bunch of theological garbage we have been delivered up. And now those that have promoted, that theology of, if you're really in with Yah, then you're just blessed, and blessed. And if you're not living that kind of existence, well, then you're not a real believer, and you're not rising to the next level and whatever. I mean, it is the biggest bunch of theological nonsense that's been, that's been put out as the theology of the current church age system. And it's a lie. And so many people are going to find out that it was a lie. And because they refused to honor Yah's word and do what Yah said we're supposed to be doing and the way that he wanted us to honor him, their love's going to wax cold, because they're going to think that he lied. And he never lied. He didn't lie, right? He's not a liar. So I was looking at this thing with cold love. Okay, but I'm going to go through that. So cold love, and this goes more into relationships and, like avoiding attachment. We're living in such a place of traumatized individuals. And I think this really hit me, because you look at people that have been through a lot of trauma and why they may be easily caught by a false light. All right. And a lot of it is just the atmosphere and the time period that we have grown up with, because cold love can develop because of traumatic experiences, and it's not necessarily about hate. It's about the absence of warmth, vulnerability, and emotional presence, right? That's how we can get to a state of cold love. It's just avoiding warmth and light in relationship, which comes from our relationship with Yahusha. It's a really sad state of affairs. So stress can induce biophotonic reaction, emotional stress. And this is why I believe at this day and age that our greatest position of spiritual warfare, not that we're not going to be told to get up and do something, but Yah talks about quietness and strength, quietness and confidence being our strength. He discusses this in Isaiah, that's a position of a position of strength is to be seated in heavenly places with Yahusha, right? Not reacting. So we've got to pay attention to our own emotions, because the plan of the enemy is very real, right? To try to affect our emotions. And we are not, as long as you're in a body of flesh, you are capable of being affected by this, right? But Yah has given us weapons of our warfare. I've been praying, Father, be a shield round about me, right? So that this light beams that they're shooting at me can't have the effect that they would like for it to have, right? And make me all, freaking out and angry and upset and whatever, right? Get you into fights and get you into, all stirred up in your emotions. That is not the position of strength that Yah wants us to have right now. What he wants is for us to be seated in our emotions in heavenly places. That's where we're to be right now. So emotional stress, such as anger, significantly increases spontaneous biophoton emission from the human upper body, as shown in the proof of concept study using high sensitivity imaging. Physical and environmental stressors, including heat shock, UV radiation, cigarette smoke, wounds, all induce measurable spikes in UPE due to the heightened ROS production. Where did I get this? I just Googled, how does stress, what kind of effect does stress have on our biophotonic system, right? Neural activity and brain stress also influence biophoton emission. The UPE increased during cerebral hypoxia, neuronal depolarization, with glutamate stimulation correlating with EEG patterns and cerebral blood flow. So these biophotonic responses are not just byproducts, but may serve as real-time, non-invasive biomarkers for cellular health, oxidative stress, and even early disease detection. So I just found it, interesting. We got to pay attention. How were we developed? So one thing that it says that really helps with this, just a natural thing that can be done, or, anyway, a tool that we have available to us, infrared light therapy. That's a non-invasive treatment using light in the infrared spectrum. This is a warm light, right? It helps promote healing and wellness. It penetrates very deep into the tissues, right? So this is a good thing to help combat what we're experiencing in the physical world that we are living in right now. It's commonly used to help pain relief, recovery, joint health, skin rejuvenation. But the biggest thing, increasing that blood flow, stimulating cellular energy production, drinking clean water that has been structured, okay? Making sure that we've got good minerals added to it, taking in deep breaths that you can feel that go all the way into the belly, and then letting it out completely, and try doing that. And even if you're experienced, I've noticed this, I deal with some low back stuff. And one of the things that I've learned to do is to take in the deepest breath that I can get, right? And then when I let it out so completely until you can feel the low back stretching. Hold that low back stretch and take in another deep breath. And you will feel that area, those discs decompress, right? If you do a lot of sitting, that's a good one, okay? If you've got those low back issues, especially any spondy type things going on in the low back, right? I just wanted to share that tidbit. Never know what you might hear on a Heart of the Tribe presentation. We're going to just jump all over the board. All right. So another thing that I saw that can really help with stress is the Rhodelia rosea, is an adaptogenic herb widely studied for its ability to help the body resist stress, fatigue, and burnout. Clinical research supports its effectiveness in improving stress resilience by normalizing the release of stress hormones like cortisol, which affects your blood sugar if you deal with blood sugar issues, and enhancing energy metabolism through mitochondrial support. So it helps us when we're out in the sunshine and we're taking our vitamins and doing the other things that are good for us and getting good oxygen and all those things. It'll help it. It enhances it. So it's like giving it an extra boost, right? So the key benefits for stress management include reduced fatigue, improved mental performance. Okay, so I've just kind of put all this up here. I came across the information for this as I was studying for this. So I have not tried this one yet, but I'm going to order this one. I've ordered stuff from this and looked at their process before this particular Thorn brand. And not being a medical person, not being a doctor, not having any expertise whatsoever except some research skills and going through my own things for years, I made my own decision that I'm going to give this one a try and see if it helps some. So for what it's worth, I put a link to in my description for this product. Mood stabilization. It's an adaptogenic action, meaning it helps the body adapt to a wide range of physical, mental, and environmental stressors. When I've studied adaptogenic herbs, I've always looked at them as like smart herbs, like like the herb, the biophoton energy packages that we need of that light source, know like which area to send the bulk of which cells need that the most, right? Which area of the body. That's how I've always looked at adaptogenic herbs. Lavender is an adaptogenic herb. Tulsi, holy basil, is another adaptogenic herb. Those are ones that I use regularly for that purpose, because it can be like, I've got multiple things going on and I don't really know which thing to even address first sometimes. But Yah, in his wisdom, puts his wisdom in his creation to be able to help us. And I think that's amazing. And to me, that's how I look at that, adaptogenic herbs. So I found a lot of scriptures in Job that really talk about light and darkness. And so I'll just go ahead and probably end by maybe reading a couple of these. And for those of you who can't stick with me, I think that the main point that I want to is what our intention, like being intentional in this day and age on pressing in to his spirit and being intentional about it, and asking for specifics is so important. My thoughts are the one thing that I've got total choice over. I can choose if a fiery dart of the enemy hits and I find my mind wanting to go somewhere that is not healthy for me and is not productive and it's calling me to fear rather than faith, right? I can look at that and I can go, oh, no. Mm-mm. I'm not going there today. I'm going to intentionally redirect my thought patterns and exercise the neuroplasticity that my brain is capable of and give it a new pathway of thought and open up my own brain to higher dimensions in the Ruach HaKodesh to flow with him, right? And so one of the things that helps is if I have spent time really meditating on the word of Yah. That's what's going to be my biggest, it's a sword for a reason. It's my biggest tool. Now, really too, it's very important, our inner dialogue in response to outside stimuli. Okay. So when I think about that, what is my inner dialogue to outside stimuli? There are going to be people in this world that make it their mission to want to tear you down. It just is. It's going to happen, right? There's going to be people that tell you you're wrong because you're a Sabbath keeper, that tell you you're wrong. If you're going to church on a Sunday and it's fulfilling and wonderful and you're getting what you need out of it, there's going to be people attacking you for that. There's going to be people attacking you because you don't say the name the way that they think you should say the name. There's going to be people who think that even if you are a Sabbath keeper, you do it on the wrong day. There's going to be people that think that you're too spiritually minded to be any earthly good, and why are you just a wet rag on all their fun? Right? So there's going to be people that accuse you of being evil when you're doing your best to do right. It's just going to happen. And especially if, being all of us are, once we have accepted Yahushua HaMashiach as our Savior, we are new creatures in Him, right? The old has been done away with. We are not who we used to be. We have been translated out of a realm of darkness, a kingdom of darkness ruled by dark powers and dark forces, and into His marvelous light. That's where we've been translated. And let me mention this right now. On this channel, I have a playlist of songs all about being in His light. So enjoy the playlist, right? I put it out there and made it public so everybody could just have something to listen to and concentrate on this, because I think it's very important right now that we meditate on the fact of who we are, right? Because we're not who we used to be, right? And so when outside stimuli comes, and no matter whether it's a directed energy weapon or an attack from somebody who's being manipulated, we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against powers and principalities. But they influence people, and sometimes they hop all over people, and it comes at us, and it'll come at you out of the blue for no reason. Road rage. Somebody, you picked up the tomato that they wanted. Whatever it is. It's increased. It's on the increase. So that's the importance of that inner dialogue that we have. Like when something triggers for me, something from the past, somebody that maybe what I used to be, all right, in my unredeemed state, when I was literally living in the kingdom of darkness before I was translated to His kingdom of light. Right? Something will trigger a memory, or somebody will accuse me of being still that same person. I have to pay attention to what my own inner dialogue is and say, are you going around a rut in your mind that is not a healthy mind? Are you thinking thoughts that do not help you come up higher, but try to keep you chained and locked down and not being who Yah really called you to be? Or are you going to exercise what you've come to understand through your thoughts and meditative ability to meditate on the truth of who Yah says you are, and feel the neuroplasticity in your brain make a new pathway, right? So that more light can shine through. There's more room. The more we do this, the more room there is, the more cleaned out the vessel is, so that light can come through. For every good and perfect gift comes down through the Father of light. And a perfect gift is being unchained from the past, right? It's not who we are anymore. Leave it alone. It's dead. Let the dead stay dead. We are new creatures in Him. All right. So I wanted to share that. And now I'll go back to this slide with these scriptures. And I'm just going to kind of read a few of these. There are so many more, but just to encourage you, just some things that I saw about light and darkness in case you want to dig deeper too. I'm going to be digging deeper. In Job 12:22-25, it says, He discovereth, let me add it to the stage. It says, He discovereth deep things out of darkness, and bringeth out to light the shadow of death. He increaseth the nations and destroyeth them. He enlargeth the nations and straighteneth them again. He taketh away the heart of the chief of the people of the earth, and causes them to wander in a wilderness where there is no way. They grope in the dark without light, and he maketh them to stagger like a drunken man. So this is the promise of Yah. All those that are embracing this cold light, their end is they're going to embrace this, and they're going to realize when the heart of the chief of the people is taken away, like the leaders, right? And he's like, I don't know what to do. The people are going to be groping around in the dark without light, staggering around like drunken men. Now, I don't know about you, but it's coming. I don't know if you can feel it. I can feel it. It's coming. This is coming. There's about to be things, and I believe, and within the next year, 2 years, I'm not saying this as a prophet. I'm saying this as an opinion. Okay. I'm saying I just feel it in myself. Like things are coming so rapidly. I feel like it's inevitable that the darkness is going to increase in such a level that people are going to be absolutely spinning, their minds spinning in a whirlwind. This is where I'm grieving more over sometimes the living than the dead. There's some that I'm like, some people that I know don't have the spiritual tools, that they come from a whole nother era. Some of the elderly that I know, that this is just the times are already blowing them away so much that when this begins to drop even more and more and more and more, that I've been praying, Father, if they're not able to withstand, please take them home in your good time in a peaceful way, because it's going to get crazy. It's going to get really, really crazy, and we got to be ready for it. It's just how it feels to me. Job 17:12. They change the night into day. The light is short because of darkness. Can't wait to dig into that one more. Job 18:5 and 6. Yea, the light of the wicked shall be put out, and the spark of his fire shall not shine. The light shall be dark in his tabernacle. His light is darkness in his tabernacle, right? And his candle shall be put out within him, right? That little bit of light that was there, it's going to be snuffed out. Job 18:18. He shall be driven from light into darkness and chased out of the world. Job 24:12 through 16. Men groan from out of the city, and the soul of the wounded crieth out. Yet Yah layeth not folly to them. They are of those that rebel against the light. They know not the ways thereof, nor abide in the paths thereof. The murderer rising with the light killeth the poor and needy, and in the night is as a thief. The eye also of the adulterer waiteth for the twilight, saying, no eye shall see me, and disguiseth his face. In the dark they dig through houses, which they had marked for themselves, and in the daytime they know not the light. So those are just some interesting scriptures. That the scriptures actually are full of this comparison between this light and dark, and light that is actually darkness. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this. I hope it edifies your spirit. I hope it helps you focus in on what Yah would have you focus in on, and that it is a blessing to your life. And for now, I will say shalom.
Their journey began in Yasharel, but they were scattered across the face of the earth, each one with its own beat, and each one with its own rhythm. As the dry bones are being revived, the beat begins again at the heart of the tribe.